Okay, we're going live.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Best of Photojournalism, NPPA's annual competition. This is the multimedia competition, and it's being hosted here at Ohio University School of Visual Communication. Our judges are now tasked with the problem of nominating a best use of multimedia. This competition, this particular award is an award you cannot enter. The award-winning projects will demonstrate the mastery of multimedia storytelling. They're selected from the top winners, the first place winners in each of the categories. The winners are now visible on the screen behind me, and it'll be up to the judges to nominate and discuss what they see as the best of the best.
Can I just get like what each one is from each category? Just to refresh my memory.
Sure. Can you tell us which categories these are from, please?
So, Whitman, Alabama is the visual column.
Okay, great.
What is this?
This went to sports.
Mouse over equipment. The parade is sports feature? Sports?
It's
Right.
sports. It's sports.
There's no feature.
Just sports. Next was
Rohingyas and yeah, I got it.
which of the Rohingya stories?
Like just touches?
One of the
I think it was in the middle.
This,
News multimedia.
okay.
Okay.
And then it's feature multimedia. Yeah. And then documentary multimedia. And then large market portfolio, small market portfolio.
And which one's from migrants to refugees? Which one's that?
Documentary multimedia package.
Documentary multimedia.
Okay.
So I think each of these really does have its own kind of identity in our minds. Well, certainly in my mind as a judge, because we've seen them in other places, and they've risen to kind of the cream of the crop. When I think about just photography,
You know, two stand out for me, particularly the 7 Days of Heroin, and then the Miramar story. That photography, I mean, I still see those images of the expressions and the tension resonating with, I see that one picture and then it just moves me back. I can go back and I see the gallery and the videos because the photographic approach was just, I would use the term superior to most of everything else that I've seen this week, right? Those pictures, those individual frames.
And the Myanmar.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
that all worked. That entire whole layout of Myanmar just worked. From the still photos to uses of video, from just either A, setting scenes or introducing you to a place, or B, when you're actually hearing voices and them talking about the situation that's going on. It just created this narrative.
The best of multimedia gets to applaud all those things.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I would like to applaud that one for bringing every element that you possibly could bring into a multimedia piece in there and weaving it together flawlessly.
Let's look at the other one first.
Okay.
The heroin, 7 Days of Heroin, just a simple look through that, if you would, please.
Babies will be born to heroin-addicted mothers. Courts will take children from addicted parents. Taxpayers will spend heavily to lock up drug users. People will overdose in gas stations and parks and school parking lots. Police created the heroin interdiction team after the drug was blamed for several deadly crashes in northern Kentucky. Doses in Butler County this week than in any other greater Cincinnati county. Butler County Sheriff Richard Jones won't let his deputies carry Narcan.
I'm a very compassionate person. I see more than they do. I cry a lot inside.
Jones is the only friend. Tom died from a heroin overdose Monday.
It's an empty room.
Scotty disappeared after that. His mom is sure he's using again. Lizzie came home from work just minutes ago and could tell that he had returned to the apartment. This is normal now. This is a typical week.
Okay. A very brief move through.
So the starkness of truth in this story, for me, really is the fact that, you know, heroin, drugs, opioids, you know, you pick your brand. This story really demonstrated that this is not a people of color problem, it's an American problem. And I was struck by the courage that, of authenticity that in this project that they went out and they actually did not try to shape the story. They authentically covered the story, and the depiction represented something that has been missing for a long time. You know, I've juried countless competitions like this, and the presentation of the media has been that this is a black problem. And you watch this and it's, you know, that there's one person of color as a victim in that narrative. And it's, you know, it really shows the universality of the challenges we have with substance abuse. And I thought that should be applauded, and it was done excellently. Yeah. Kind of set the record straight, right? And I think that's what journalism should do in a democracy.
Well, it's changing, right? It's more than just become a people of color problem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's spreading. I mean, like people always say, drugs never. They're not picky. Drugs don't. What's the word? You know what I'm saying? They don't.
Like, those don't have their names on it.
I can't think of the word, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's an equal opportunity.
Yeah, but
scourge, right?
exactly. The one thing for me that I really enjoy this because I have had a lot of these stories have been coming out. A lot of stories about heroin usage, and especially in rural America, i.e. Time Magazine recently did that whole 18-month piece with James Notchaway. My issue with that one was that it didn't still include people of color. So this one still brought some people of color. It's granted, it has moved on to a rural, predominantly white space now when it comes to epidemics and of heroin, opioid overdoses, and things like that. But they still managed to bring in a more well-rounded approach to this story than many other publications I've seen, and many of the stories I've seen on the same exact topic. It's usually always one way or the other. Like there's all people of color, or it's like all rural white folks. So finding that middle ground and just bringing feeling more well-rounded, that we hit everyone's
Expanding the reach of the narrative.
Exactly. And it was just done in a way where you feel compassion, and you also feel the different emotions that run through a story like this.
Yeah, and the pain of loss and the tension, you know, of substance abuse is a human issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a black-white issue.
Yep.
And I thought that really came across well in this package.
When they have the perspective of the mothers saying, you know, you can feel how you feel, but you're not gonna talk about drug addicts around like that around me because my son is wrong. You know, I just like the honesty and like you really felt like you could see and understand the other side. You know, instead of criminalizing or villainizing drug addicts, you kind of there's a sympathy that's understanding more so if you don't have that direct experience. You know, so I think that the videographer was very successful.
The other piece that you wanted to recognize, Myanmar, the story of these people, fake news. We could look quickly through that.
Everybody needs to see this.
Yeah, just run it back.
You know, just run it.
Take your time.
We'll be quiet. What kind of trips?
It's just seeing the track.
So, you know, I really a really strong advocate of this piece. And my biggest critique, maybe even a criticism, is that I really wanted more caption information. Wanted more contextualization of some of the moments. And I think that's one of the things that we tend to lose in multimedia presentations. So listen, find ways to build caption and roll over. I mean, and we saw some examples. I think, you know, Univision used some pretty interesting approaches, and the Washington Post also did. As I just think about at least two examples of folks that did make the commitment to recognize that, you know, these pictures and the viewer's interpretation may be really off base. Left to our own devices, so it's important for the visual journalists to provide that context as authentic witnesses, and that the organizations make sure that they find ways to present that information.
Okay. Would either of you like to add to that?
The rare have spoken. No. No, I do agree, because there are a few images in there. I'm like, what's going on? It's beautiful. It's gorgeous to look at, but like, what's going? Like, and I guess you're understanding that it's a moment in the camp, but I kind of wanted a little bit more from that. But I feel like they got you enough to get you to the understanding point. But you know, just a few words, a sentence would always be amazing. But I think outside of that, I mean, I cannot complain on that.
So I sense that you have consensus that these are the top two of what we've seen.
I can add another.
You
Maybe
go for it.
Okay.
Go for it.
Earlier when we were talking about the visual column, and we talked about the Whitman Alabama piece, the way that the artistry was used, multimedia was used to tell that story was unique and different. That's why we awarded them.
Just a touch of that, please.
Yeah, that use of poetry was just insane.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was great videography, and paired together went really well.
This is a Hohner harmonica called The Little Lady. My grandmother.
Stallion, fresh, responsive to my caresses, head high in the forehead, limbs glossy and supple.
They do not lie awake in the dark and weep for their sins.
This is a city, and I'm one of the citizens.
I am not the earth, nor an adjunct of the earth. I am the mate and companion of people, all just as immortal and
I celebrate myself. I sing myself, and what I assume, you shall assume.
Okay. What else would you said you had perhaps?
And I was going to say also the El Salvador,
Yeah,
a night of violence.
that was, I remember, I think I like forcefully said, maybe I did want it for second place, just won it first place, just so I could watch it again. You guys didn't know that, you didn't see that coming.
Just a little sample.
You know, and if you look at the picture, the
We
guys
have all
looking
of our
at it.
pearls that we're
Exactly.
we're admiring yet again.
It's a good excuse to watch.
Yo vivo en Puerto Rico,
One of the
pero
reasons
viene
we like
callado.
to celebrate this.
Yo vivo, bien vivo la vida.
He has the eye, the ear, the nose, the skin.
Tight.
Yeah.
The shadow.
But I don't want to be.
Y si es confirmada nuestras
How to
personas.
tell the story in a very interesting visual way.
Exactly.
Also, he's trying
Este
to
domingo que va a pasar.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, you gotta go into like, it's like he's also slightly hiding identity,
El ambiente de inseguridad.
which
¿quién nos protege a nosotros como ciudadanos? ¿Por qué viviendo en este país tienes que emigrar, tienes que irte? Porque las personas no se van, huyen del temor, huyen de la delincuencia, huyen por sobrevivir, por no ser víctimas.
Yeah, deep compassion and care for stakeholders. You know, and I mean that's a courageous story.
Yeah.
Amazingly
Took
courageous.
guts.
Took heart.
And now you're at the problem.
Which one?
Which one is your best of show?
Which one?
Best use of?
It's like, why can't we just celebrate them all?
Best use of.
We are celebrating them all. Each of these have been celebrated with an award.
Already. Touche, touche.
So if we do best use of multimedia, I would like to say that I would choose Myanmar as my best use of multimedia because there, right, the different components that were used. It has like the feel of like, I was saying one scene would have the text and the video. It reminded me of like Snapchat or like Facebook or that kind of experience. So there's different levels to it. Then you have the photojournalist that's experienced that can see the scenes and make you feel like you're looking at a beautiful like painting in a museum, but at the same time the horror of what's happening in front of you. So all of that wrapped up in one is like an amazing multimedia experience.
So Kimberly has nominated Myanmar.
Kimberly just sold me. I'm done.
Exactly. I'm about to say, I don't, for me it wasn't
to be said.
Yeah. It's not a hard sell, honestly. Like that piece is gorgeous, informing, and just really shows what's possible with multimedia. Shows what's possible when using an online platform to tell a story. From powerful visuals, from photos, from audio, from video, from graphics and designs. Because I remember when we first did the little zoom in map where he shows from the burn fields, from what it looked like before to the burn camps, and then zooming out and like showing the trek these people had to make to find a safe space. Like that's insane, and it brought me into their story more, and I began to feel for them even more. So it really shows what we can do as journalists, what we can do as photojournalists, what we can do as visual journalists to tell these stories in a way that no one else can.
And the story, for me, and I'm dating myself, it pains me greatly because not only is it maybe the story of the century, or part of the subset of the story of the century of migration, but it's forced migration that is born out of human inhumanity towards one another, right? You know, I see those pictures and I remember Bosnia, I remember Rwanda, you know, and Ethiopia, and it's just moving across the globe. And while I admire the men and women who bring these images and these narratives to us, I just wonder about whether or not we are doing enough to curtail it and reduce it and eliminate such.
And I think at the end they offer you resources if you want to help and how you can help.
I love that about
So
this. Yeah.
I think that's an important step that a lot of newspapers and journalists have taken. Like, what's the next step, right? Besides just documenting, right?
Yeah.
How do you, as a viewer, can you help?
How you
What
act.
can you do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it encourages that.
It does. It is. My last thought, it is a tremendous call to action. All of these had that element, and whether or not the publications intentionally engage that in their narratives and in their interfaces, just experiencing and the exposure as a witness and viewer to the content, you know, calls you into action, even if it's going to the Cincinnati Reds game.
I was just ready to flag. He was like, so we're going to a Reds game?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
It's all right.
Thank you. We have best use of the web to the New York Times, their story on Myanmar. I'd like to take a moment to thank our judges who helped us to bring the multimedia portion of Best of Photojournalism to a close here at Ohio University. Ms. Kimberly Mitchell from Detroit, Mr. Brent Lewis out of Ohio and Washington, D.C., and a whole lot of other places.
Man of the world.
A man of the world indeed, and my longtime friend, Kenny Irving. Thank you all for the effort, the work, and the time put in to this as a volunteer, and the presentations that you've done today. Very impressive. Thank you.
Thank you.